Inside of the palace, Frederick, assistant to the king, was roaring over the latest news. Lately, there were rumors of a mysterious city which had magically appeared in the desert to the south. As far as anyone knew, there was nothing inside of the desert, and its only purpose was to define the territorial limit of the kingdom. Initially, when Frederick learned about this city, he thought it was the usual rumors that merchants spread to encourage the sale of their wares. Often, merchants would make up fantastical stories about finding the products inside some lost labyrinth or ancient city to increase the mystery of a product. These tales were usually made up and scams targeting unsuspecting customers. Paperwork alerting him of these tricks from merchants would occasionally pop up on his desk, and he would usually send guards to deal with these merchants. The problem this time around was how these new dealers that seemed to appear overnight with vast amounts of wealth were selling high quality goods. The type of goods that were sold varied greatly, from food items to common wares used in households. Guards were initially sent out, but when they returned, the guards talked about how fantastical everything appeared. All of them talked about sending their wives to look at them. Some of the shops had fancy items, such as scented soaps and perfumes, at low prices compared to other stores. As time passed and people began to purchase products from these new stores and stalls, Frederick was happy considering how the incoming tax amounts would increase. As many in governments understand, a nation was only as strong as its military and economic power. To fund a growing military, a nation needed to find methods to encourage growth, both the number of businesses and population size. These two items helped to increase the amount of tax revenue a nation could gather. With an influx of business, the kingdom would have a prosperous future. After a month, Frederick learned that the population in the slums was decreasing, which was drastically decreasing the amount of crime within the city. This was unusual, and when he tried to investigate what had happened to residents inside the slums, no one knew. Going to the various gangs and underground organizations, he heard whispers about a city called Felicitas, located deep in the desert. Assuming that these people had immigrated to the city, Frederick no longer gave it a second thought and happily reported to the king about criminal activity being at a record-breaking low. Receiving praise from the king, Frederick headed towards the nearest brothel to celebrate his great success. The problem didn't start until a couple months later when he learned from the city guards about a large number of families who appeared to be leaving. In addition to families moving out, there were a large number of slaves which were being purchased by unknown merchants. Cities were always seeing a change in population size, as people coming in were unable to find opportunities and returned to where they came from. This was a natural process that all nations faced. The issue wasn't that people were leaving the city, but the number of individuals that were pouring out. Without a census being performed, he couldn't know the exact figure of those leaving, but estimates had it to where 15% of the city's population had moved out. There didn't seem to be a specific reason as to why families were leaving, which was another problem. Without understanding the problem, Frederick couldn't find a solution to fix this mess before the king learned about it. He knew that many of the citizens were unhappy with their treatment from the nobles, and there were concerns of riots taking place. With the slums nearly empty and the economy getting stronger, he assumed that these were no longer issues. It wasn't until he received reports from the guards that Frederick became concerned. "Smith! Get in here, immediately!" he yelled for his secretary. The door to his office quickly opened, and a thin man dressed in a pompous outfit rushed in. "My lord, Is there anything I can assist you with? Smith asked, looking nervous at Frederick's angry expression. I need you to schedule a meeting with the leader of Shadows immediately. Tell her that she is needed in my office yesterday, Frederick ordered Smith. Nodding his head and telling him that it would be done immediately, Smith closed the door behind him. Shadows was a group inside of the kingdom that handled covert assignments, such as infiltration, spying, and assassination. The leader was a woman that always wore a mask, so no one knew her actual identity. Only Frederick and the king were aware of her existence. As Frederick was getting ready to leave for the night, he heavily sighed about what he was going to report to the king. A decrease of 15% would have a heavy impact on how much the crown would receive. Even if 6% of that figure was made up of those living in the slums, it would mean that 9% were tax-paying individuals. After locking up all of his documents into a safe, the lights within the room went out. Plunged into complete darkness, Frederick said, "Shade, it looks like you received my summons." A velvety voice answered him. "A bird told me that you wanted to see me." "Could we do this without the theatrics?" Frederick said, sounding annoyed by Shade blacking out the room. Frederick watched as a floating flame appeared and lit one of the many candles in the room. The warm glow casted shadows all across the room. The hidden meaning wasn't lost on him. "Have you heard of the new city in the desert?" "Are you referring to Felicitas?" she asked, while indicating she knew of the city. "Yes. I need you to investigate the city and find out why there's such an interest surrounding it. The pay will be twice the amount, so I expect a detailed account." With the mask on her face, Frederick was unable to discern her facial expression, but imagined that she was smiling. A gust of wind blew out the candle and once again plunged him into darkness. Fucking bitch. Sally woke up as the tarp was abruptly removed, flooding her eyes with blinding light. Rapidly blinking her eyes, trying to get her eyes to adjust, she slowly saw the image of the young couple looking at her. "Did you enjoy your trip?" the woman asked her in a pleasant voice. "I'm sorry for sneaking into your wagon. I just wanted to see the city you spoke about," she cried out. "Looks like you picked up a hitchhiker," a voice chuckled off to the side. "The girl was watching us in the town that we visited," the man explained as he grinned at Sally. "Wait, you knew that I was watching you and that I snuck into your wagon?" Sally asked, shocked that they would allow her to just go with them and not say anything. "Why do you think we had all that food in the back that was not secured?" the woman teased Sally. "But why?" Sally stammered, confused with their motive. "We knew that you wanted to come to Felicitas. If we invited you, we knew that you would be suspicious, so we just gave you the opportunity," the woman answered. Now that her eyes fully adjusted to the light, she looked around and saw that they were in front of a massive wall. "Where are we?" she asked. "Welcome to Felicitas," the couple congratulated her. After separating with the couple, Sally headed to the entrance. The entrance was massive, looking like it could fit 6 wagons side by side. Approaching one of the guards stationed by the entrance, Sally said, "I was told by the merchant couple that you'd be able to help me. I'm not sure what I need to be doing." The guard was completely covered in some kind of armor. There were a lot of edges and it was completely black, while looking more formidable than the ones the guards from her town wore. Raising his arm to the side of his helmet, the guard said, "This is Rick from Unit Alpha. I have an individual who is requesting for citizenry." Appearing like he was listening to some kind of command, the guard turned towards her and in a gentle voice said, "I am sure you have already guessed, but my name is Rick. Welcome to Felicitas. I will be guiding you to the welcome office, where you will be getting your citizenship status." "What is citizenship, and why do I need to get it to come into the city?" Sally asked, confusion written on her face. "Citizenship means that you consider Felicitas to be your permanent home. Most people, like yourself, who approach the guard by themselves are looking to find a place for themselves. Once you become a citizen of Felicitas, you'll be qualified for the many benefits given. To get into the city, being a citizen is not required, but to enjoy all that the city has to offer, it is," Rick explained to Sally in a patient manner. After Sally was satisfied with Rick's explanation, they headed into the entrance. Waiting for them was a small wagon with several seats in it that was hooked up to a metallic-looking horse. Sitting down on the seat, Sally thought it was the most comfortable seat that she sat on in her life. Without any directions given to it, the horse started to trot at a decent pace. They went down a long tunnel that was lit up by giant crystals.